liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out, and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
And we are live, all the way live this Monday morning, this sunny Monday morning. Thank you all for tuning into Feedback, a positive image production by Hood Research. My name is Theo Broden, co-founder of Hood Research, and my co-host,
Thabiti, and we welcome you to the program.
And it's just such a wonderful day to have all of the memories from yesterday. We had our 25th anniversary dinner, and it was extremely well attended. But first I want to say good morning to Errol and to Vera and to Val, to all of those of you who tune in on a regular basis. I want to say that last night there were so many there, but I want to say congratulations to the new Lifetime members, which include Clementine Harris and, of course, Gladys Wolford and of course, Claire McKissick and Diane Crawford. Those are new Lifetime members that have joined Hood Research. And there was Dr. Alan Cushenberry, who was in the House last night, and State Representative Betty Cook Scott, and of course Abner Hogan was there, and who else am I leaving out? We had Roy McAllister was in the House with us last night, and you might want to know that Roy McAllister has been a lifetime member of Hood Research for decades. You know, Alicia Bell was there, and we received some awards from Alicia Bell of the county, from Brenda Jones from the city, and Betty Cook Scott presented one, and of course it was with the collaboration of Rosemary Robinson. Attorney Rosemary Robinson is also a state rep. I had Rosalind Fluker was there last night, and I want to say a big thank you to Mark Hackshaw. Mark Hackshaw was in the house. He's on with us from time to time, as you may remember. He's the person who put together the beautiful musical that was down by the Highland Park Library, which was well attended also. And Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence Milburn of the Tuskegee Airmen was with us. It was just great.
Yes, I agree. I want to just say that first shout outs to our faithful viewers, which include Sister Jackie, Sister Ruth Ann, Brother Shane, also Brother Fred, Brother Smith Bay, Cheryl D. Oh, wow, I can't think of her name, but anyway, I appreciate you watching. And I want to say happy birthday to Detroit guitarist Kenny Burrell. Today is his 86th birthday.
86th birthday, wow.
Now, a lot of you old school people will know Kenny Burrell, like Yusef Lateef and some of those people, so I want to acknowledge one of our Detroit's best, well known. So and it was a wonderful affair that we had at the 25th birthday celebration of Hood Research. How many people have been in a relationship 25 years and still going? Right.
Oh, I got to remember that Commissioner, soon to be, Bill Davis was in the house last night as well. So it was just really a good a good turnout. The weather was beautiful. The people were beautiful. And I had a fantastic time. The room was set up really, really elegantly. Well, that's what I like. Champagne taste, Kool-Aid pocketbook. Anyway, we have with us a guest this morning. You may feel free to make comments about the event last night. If you enjoyed yourself, please let us know. Also, we want you to stay tuned for Who Done It. We'll be talking more about that. You can find out about Who Done It. But we have a gentleman by the name of David Watkins who is with us this morning.
Good morning.
An excellent writer.
Thank you.
I want you to tell us, who is David Watkins?
David Watkins. I am a Detroit citizen, born and reared here, and living here with my lovely wife, Linda. I've been writing children's books now for 7, 8 years. And I've just written my 8th book. We try to educate, enlighten, and entertain children at the same time. This is what I do.
Okay. Now, you have brought one of the books with you. What's the title of it?
The title of my newest book is Melvia for Mayor, and it's about a 12-year-old girl who finds a loophole in the city charter and decides to run for mayor.
Okay, I like that
Yes.
already.
Yes. We're having a book signing about this book this Saturday at Elmwood Park Church of Christ, 2001 Antietam in St. Albans.
Okay, that's downtown, right?
It's very close to downtown, right off Gratiot, I-75, where Joe Mears used to be a long time ago, that area.
Oh, okay. 2001
Antietam.
Antietam. Okay.
That's good, because I always wonder how to pronounce the street name there, as we have so many, like Buffet, certain names that are French or other in origin.
Right.
Now, what's the gist of Melvia for Mayor, and then we can talk about other books that you've authored.
Well, Melvia for Mayor is my first chapter book. It's, I would say, for children 8, 9, and up, although there are some children who read chapter books and they're younger than that.
Okay.
But it's about 185 pages worth of text, no illustrations, unlike my other books. But I think it's packed with a lot of information and humor and pure entertainment for the children, not to mention a little knowledge.
Hey, that is important. We need to get as much knowledge in them as we can, because we have those who are out to destroy the minds of our children by destroying the school system.
Okay.
And
yes.
so to have you writing books for the last 7 or 8 years that imparts knowledge in our young people is, one, appreciated, two, is needed, and we want to help to make sure that people learn about it.
Now, I want to ask, what is a chapter book? Because I write poetry and songs, but I've heard them use that phrase before, but since I don't write in that vein, what is
Right.
chapter book definition?
Well, children's books are generally divided into chapter books, picture books, and what they call YA now for young adults. Now, the chapter books are when children start reading complete sentences, complete paragraphs, and they're divided into chapters as opposed to just looking at the pictures and reading the text. And generally, it starts around the 4th grade and up.
Okay. And in the picture book, it's like see Puff and
Yes.
Spot,
Yes.
see Jane Run. I mean,
Dr.
Right.
Seuss and such.
yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, he's a little step above this. Okay.
Yes.
And then the third one that you.
The YA books are for young adults, and there's kind of a transition between the chapter books and young adults. Sometimes they run into one another, but young adults are for what they're calling now tweens, and then the teenagers before they become adult books. I try to write books in such a way so that I'm writing almost as if for an adult, but for a child who understands. In other words, I try not to write down to them, but to write some words that they may have to look up.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good.
I've always felt that was important. One of the reasons is that when my children were born, one of the things that I had learned prior to their birth, but I took it as a deep thought in that a lot of people use goo goo gaga, those. I mean, you can't even write them. I guess you could write them for a comic strip or something like that, but they don't necessarily work for a child. So I always was told, which I'm glad to hear you say, David, is that you write so that the child has to come up to that level rather than writing down. Because I would ask people when they tried that with my children, it's like, wait, those words don't really exist. So don't talk to my children like that. They won't gather any knowledge or information, because then I don't want them going around saying goo goo gaga either, that type of thing. Right. So yeah, I appreciate that. Now, what would you say the age range are the children that you focus your writings on?
Generally 6 to 11 or 12. That's our general age range. My other books, I have 7 other books, and that's safe to say 6 to 12. This book is about a 12-year-old girl, but I would say 8 on up.
Yeah, I kind of had that feeling, because when you said as a 12-year-old child, I say, well, one thing that I do like about that is that children in that age range can identify with that, and not only that, but be motivated by it as well, because they can perhaps see themselves in that same situation, which I think one of the important things in writing and reading, particularly since I love to read, is that a person needs to be able to identify with something within the context of the books to, number one, inspire them just to really want to read, and two, to maybe be able to see themselves. Now, I wanted to say that I purchased books from David Watkins. One of the things I do like about it is that I think there's one called what, Animals, Beasts, and Creatures.
Yes.
And I think, now you have to help me with all this, but I think it went from A to Z.
Exactly. I had 26 animals. I had a poem for each animal, a silly picture that I drew for each animal, and then information about the animal at the bottom of the page, A, B, C, D, E, about the animal's environment, fun facts about the animal, things of that sort.
Oh, now that would you call that a picture book?
That was a picture
Style?
book. It was also part of what I call my ABC series.
Okay.
The style was done as a picture book, but it didn't tell a story. Each animal had its separate story, per se,
Oh, wow.
including the X-ray fish,
The X-ray.
which is a real fish.
Yes,
Yes.
I know.
Wow.
That's
I
really
didn't-
neat.
I bought it for my granddaughter, but I should have read it first.
Oh, that is really neat. You know, I was glad to hear you say that you write on a level for the reader to be brought up, rather than talking at them or down to them.
Yes.
And I was glad when the BD started talking about the way some adults will talk to children in nonverbal language, such as Google. I also have an issue with people naming their child David or whatever they name them, and then calling them Pookie. And
Yes.
a few years ago, there was a child, sadly, who somehow got out of the house. I guess the caretaker was asleep. It was cold outside, and the child was walking barefoot, and he must have been about 3 or so. And there were neighbors and all of so on. The police picked him, took him to the station, of course, and they asked him his name, and that's what he said, Pookie. So how's somebody gonna help identify the child and get the child back to parents if he doesn't even know his own name?
Correct.
So I think what you're doing in that area, that's excellent. That is.
And there's another one that I like. Well, there's a couple, but one, it's another part of what he says is ABC series. What is that now? All About Cars or something?
Awesome Book of Cars.
Okay.
Okay, tell us about that.
We have 3 stories, 3 children's stories. All the stories are based on cars, and they all have lessons. And in fact, we had a book signing at George Maddox Chevrolet, where we presented that book a couple of years ago. So there are 3 stories with lessons. Also, we talk about the cars and exciting pictures.
Now, what age does that is that directed to?
I would say again 6 to 11, but some children who really like cars at the age of 3 or 4 can have the stories read to them.
Mm-hmm.
They may not read them themselves, but they can know the stories.
Right.
And children love to hear stories being read.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to hear is read it again when I finish.
Okay.
You know, one of the things I'll add to that too is I like the idea of the inspiration. Number one, I have been told, actually, you mentioned Mark Hackshaw earlier, but when they had the Highland Park Music Festival, part of what the whole Highland, and as a matter of fact, David was at the Highland Park Music Festival as well.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the things that I liked about it is that when my granddaughter came in, first she got a book bag, which we didn't know had a free food ticket. That was awesome because
Okay.
she had neat. And then they let you pick 2 books just depending on what grade level you were at. So she went to that table. And then there was another table where they had books where if the child read the book, they would receive a ticket. And there was one book in particular that if you read it, they gave you 2 tickets, which my granddaughter, I've been like really on her for reading, so she's pretty good at that. So she actually read it and got 2 tickets. And before I go on, we have a caller, and then I will continue with my story. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please? Hello, caller, you're on the air. Okay, call back. I know there's a delay, and sometimes people don't. If you're listening to your television, once you get on the phone, just listen to your phone for the conversation. But at the Highland Park Book Festival, one of the things I like, they had elderly people, for the most part, allowing the children to read to them. Once the child read, and I have to say my granddaughter received flying colors on that, so of course I felt good about that because I focus on her every day, just every chance I get. Read something. I don't care if it's 10 or 15 minutes. But one of the things that you said, David, also is that whether the child has the book read to them, or if they read it, or if it's done alternately between the two, it instills that desire to acquire knowledge. Now, one of the things you said as well was like, okay, the language for one, how you will elevate the language to an extent that it's not beyond them, but it may force them, even as us adults, may read a book. Somebody might say reciprocity, just like, well, what does that mean? You know, if we're reading it and we can't discern it from the context of what is written, then it forces us to go to as well. And one thing I will say, and I'll let you elaborate on it, David, is that well, he's been educating most of the adults on my job too. I have to tell you.
I don't know about that, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, he has brought a wealth of knowledge. So I always said when I grew up I want to be like David. So I'm still growing up. We'll see how that works. He's a little older than me, so I can say that, right?
Very little, but in any case, yes, I find sometimes a parent may say, "Oh, this book is for 4th grade, but my child's only in the 3rd grade." I will urge the parent to get that book, as opposed to getting a 2nd grade book for a 3rd grader. Get the 4th grade book and help to elevate your child to that grade level. There's nothing wrong with looking ahead.
Okay. Now, on the outside of the book itself, you say recommended for. Is that? Well, they have to ask you.
Let me look and see.
Okay.
For ages 8 and up.
Okay, so it is on the book.
Yes, on the book, yes.
And that is helpful when cousins, grandparents, aunts, friends are trying to purchase a book for a family member, friend, child, to help them to determine which book might be good for them.
Correct.
I also want to bring to the attention of our viewers that the call-in numbers are at the bottom of the screen, so feel free to call in. And one of the reasons I encourage that as well is because we don't emphasize reading enough in our community, and I think that's a great fault. And one of the things that I've said many times on this show over the years is that if a child, now we already know that there's a pipeline from school to prison. And generally around the third grade, I believe it is when they've determined that certain children are not going to be able to be successful. And at that point, they start figuring, well, this child will go to alternative things in order to be able to make it, which in some cases lead to crime. But the point that I'm making, and why I encourage you to inquire about the books of David Watkins, is that you cannot go to schools. Let me put it another way. If I can't read, then when I go from my English class to my social studies class to my art class, if I don't have any command over the language, those classes become even tougher as well, because they have their own language or terminology, and the child will not broaden their language skills by that. And we'll go to the caller and we'll come back. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Yes, my name is Derek, and I'm viewing you guys through WHPR TV 33.
Thank you for calling.
Yes, what I wanted to call about is that whenever you guys come on TV, you guys show a particular movie, and I wanted to know what that movie was so I could get a chance to take a look at it.
Oh, okay. It was a segment from a movie that was put out in 1974. The title of the movie is Trick Baby.
Trick Baby.
Uh-huh.
I was wondering why no one really hears about it.
What is it?
Could you speak just a little louder, please?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was wondering why nobody has really heard about it before. Nobody really talks about it.
Oh, that's because it was put out in 1974, most likely. Trick Baby, name of it.
But you guys do a lot of stuff in the community.
Yes.
Are you guys familiar with the community outreach called Detroit People's Platform?
Detroit Legal Platform?
No, Detroit People's Platform.
Detroit People's Platform.
No, I don't think
Not
so.
familiar with it on my part, no.
You want to tell us about it? Are you involved with them?
Yes, I am involved with them. We
Okay.
were over at the Rosa Parks Transit Center. I'm part of their transit workshop. Since the Woodward bus has been rerouted when the Q line was built, I was down there promoting the Keep Woodward on Woodward campaign.
Okay. You were what was it? Protesting against the toy train? Is that what you're saying?
Well, not just that, but keeping the bus route at its original route instead of it being rerouted to other parts of the downtown area.
They have taken the buses off of Woodward now?
No, it's just the Woodward bus. The Smart bus still drives down Woodward, but the DDOT bus at a particular part makes a right turn over on a particular street, and then goes down Cass, and then makes left on Grand River and stops over at the Times Square People Mover Center and lets people off so they can get over to the...
Okay. Now, your organization meets regularly?
Yes, I go to their meetings every Thursday, but they also meet for other issues.
Okay.
They do have a website, which I'm willing to announce on the air.
Oh, okay. Hood Research has a website. It's hoodresearch.org. We meet on the second Saturday of every month, and I would like to invite you to join us. The meeting in August is on the 12th. The second Saturday is the 12th of August. The location is the Dabo Center on Grand River at Wyoming. The address is 12048 Grand River. The meeting begins at 2 o'clock. So if you would, join us on the 12th at 2 o'clock and be ready to share some of the projects you have, information that you have. Is that doable for you?
Yes, I can talk to some of the people in my organization, see if they can attend.
Okay. Okay.
If not, then I can show up personally.
Then you can come. The telephone number for Hood Research is area code 248-234-2371. Again, that's area code 248-234-2371. And also the guest that we have with us this morning, and David Watkins, the gentleman who authors children's books, is he's going to be with us on Saturday, the 12th of August, and he'll be available for a book signing as well and to present all of his books. Okay?
All right, then. That's nice.
All righty. Thank you so much for calling.
Oh, of course. Not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please? Hello, caller. Talk to your phone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Lysol watching you on channel 91 Comcast.
Oh, thank you for calling.
Yes, I just had to put a shout out. Hood Research 25th anniversary was an elegant, delightful, fun-filled Sunday.
Well,
and I got my auction. I won a nice, beautiful, artsy rug here. So I can put it on the wall, or I can put it on me at cold nights. It's just so beautiful. The auction was a success. The entertainment was nice. I danced till I couldn't dance anymore. We just had a wonderful time, and Kathy Garrett's office, as well as many other, gave you some nice awards and recommendations. Everything was just lovely, just well put together.
Oh, thank you so much for that.
Yes. I'd like to ask your guest, David Watkins, your children books, how young are they for? Are they for the night, reading books for small children, for bedtime books as well?
Mm-hmm.
Hello there. I have books from 6 on up.
6
but
years
next
old
year,
okay.
next year, 2018, there will be 2 books coming out that I just finished. One is called Finding Fido for ages 5 and up, and the other is called Mommy, When is Midnight? That will be done all in rhyme, and it's about a baby calf asking his mother when midnight is because he's heard so much about midnight, but he's never seen it. That book will be for 2 years and up.
Okay.
Mothers can read it to the children. That should be out next year. It will be out next year.
Okay.
She's excited.
Well, I'll be looking forward to meeting with you, greeting with you at the meeting when you show up.
Right.
Okay.
Right. August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks
Should I
for
give my
taking
website?
call, and happy Monday to all.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. You have a website?
Yes.
Contact information?
DLWpublishing.com, they say.
That's the website.
Yes.
DLW.
Those are my initials, but it also stands for drawing, lettering, and writing.
Oh,
I illustrate, I do calligraphy, and I write.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes.
Multi-purpose letters. Okay.
That's why I want to grow up to be like him, right?
Yeah, I see. Okay. All right.
And the point that I was making was how if they're not able to read at a certain point, and every time they go to a different grade, because like with my granddaughter, so I have that immediate experience. She's going into the 4th grade now, which is why I wanted to prime her for reading that. If you're not able to do that, then when you get into a geography class, whatever class where there's specific terminology, then it's even harder to read if you haven't mastered the basics, which would be phonics, and then learning your suffixes and prefixes, those type of things. So that's one of the things I like. Now we're going to go back to the phones, and we'll continue. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Well, hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Hello. Speak up, please. We're having difficulty hearing the callers. Go ahead. Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes, you're on the air.
Yes.
I was I really can't see you on TV, and I was dialing to talk with the front office, but I would like to listen through my phone if you could, if I could.
Oh, she want to be on hold to listen.
Okay. I wish
I don't know. I don't think you can do that. Yeah.
Well, if we can figure it out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I can't. I used to could get you guys, but I can't get you anymore. So I really miss you.
Oh.
But what are you talking about?
A writer.
We have a author here, David Watkins. He publishes children's books.
Okay.
And we're trying to encourage, and I'm going to let him elaborate a little bit more, but we try to encourage reading for the youth because, as I was saying just a moment earlier, if our children haven't mastered the fundamentals of reading, then everything that they get their hands on will be foreign to them. They won't be able to discern not only the content or of the language or the sentences and things written, but it can actually, this is just my own personal feeling, once a person feels like they can't read, and we know about the illiteracy rate of Detroit, they keep saying 47%. I would hope that that's changed. They've been saying it for about 30 years, so I don't know. It seems like something should have went up or down.
Reading is so important, because it opens you up to a new world. You can just go and get books and go into new thought patterns. And I'm an avid reader. I buy books. And
you gotta be with us.
I don't throw my books away. I keep them, and sometimes I might give them to people. But when I get through with the book, it is read. It's noted. Sometimes they fall apart, and I hold them together with rubber bands.
Same here.
But reading is the best thing you could ever do for your children and yourself.
Yes, it is. It is, yeah. And when you find a book that really excites you, you can't wait to get back home to continue it. Oh, I know that feeling. Yes.
Yeah. So this is a divine moment for me to speak that. And I
want
don't know how
you
it happened, but it did. And so God bless you all, and I love you. And may you have a marvelous day.
And be with us on August the 12th, because we have our fine author here who will be with us that day. And you'll get a chance to touch his books.
Okay, where are you going to be?
At the Dabo Center on Grand River at Wyoming.
Oh, okay. I know that.
Oh, okay. That's at 2 o'clock.
I thought that was Saturday Grand River in the Boulevard.
What? You've been coming since we were on the Boulevard?
Oh, wow, yes.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Grand River doesn't go to Wyoming. Oh, yes, it does, but...
First Independence Bank is in that building now. So we're on the Grand River and Wyoming in the Dabo Center.
Okay. Oh, okay. I know that. I know that. Yeah, I know that place.
Okay.
That's a Reverend Sheffield's place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so guys, you be blessed. I love you.
I love you too. We'll see you August 12th, 2 o'clock.
Thank you. I want to expand on some of the books you've written, but just to finalize that thought or idea that we know how children can, and maybe they're not malicious in their intent, but they can ridicule you, say that, Jeffrey can't read, he's dumb, that kind of thing. So that's why I always, again, emphasize that, because a lot of self-esteem comes from being able to read and not being able to read. Even as an adult, we know it gets even worse because a person will say, well, I don't have my glasses. Can you make this out for me? And make excuses. So my emphasis, I love reading, as the previous caller said, I'm an avid reader, so I can't help myself. But now you also have a book. I can't. I'm addicted. It's an addiction I love.
Okay.
Now,
which book now?
Benny and the Basketball Bully, I believe it is.
First book I wrote was called Benny and the Basketball Bully. It's about a 9-year-old boy named Benny who admired the basketball skills of an 11-year-old boy named Jimmy down the street. But Jimmy insulted Benny constantly, sent him home crying, made fun of what he wore, how he talked, and things of that sort. And eventually, Jimmy crossed the line and insulted Benny's religion. That's when Benny finally stood up. We basically have to realize that we all have a point which cannot be crossed, whatever that may be. And standing up to bullies is so important these days. And when Benny stands up, he stands up and gives him some words. We're not advocating violence in the book, but we are advocating courage and standing up for oneself.
Okay. I like that.
And since bullying became part of within the last maybe 5 to 10 years it became more pronounced in culture as to children being bullied and the results of them, some of them even committing suicide. I think that was a very important thing because right now, at least at that age, our children are fragile. We're fragile as adults as well, but certainly as children. So to be able to see and find something that will encourage one that I have to do that with my granddaughter. She's a timid spirit. But we have children who are more aggressive, so those type of things that can be brought out in children's literature help to illustrate how things go, because a lot of times we're detached from the experience as adults. I know when we came up, they used to say, well, just knock him upside his head, that kind of thing. Well, that's easy to say, but if you're that intimidated, shy child, that's not easy to do. So that's one of the reasons why I want to bring that. Now we got another caller now.
And they harm themselves instead.
Exactly. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Yes, this is Vera speaking.
Hi,
I'm watching
Vera.
you on Comcast 91, and I just want to give a shout out to and kudos to whoever planned the event Sunday. It was very, very done. It was done very well, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, there are other people who were there too that you might want to give a shout out to. Sylvia was there, Mary Waters was there, Sam Riddles was there, Hassan, Queen Mother, Helen Moore, and Hassan had his daughter and his granddaughter there, and Carl Williams. There were so many there who really enjoyed the event, and I just want to say thank you, Theo, 25 years, and we're looking forward to 26. So, have a good day.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us last night. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right.
Now, there's another book which I bought for my granddaughter, and I liked it because it had, I guess, a diverse group of princesses, 12 little princesses.
Oh, yes. The 12 Dancing Princesses.
Okay.
It's an old fairy tale which the Grimm brothers passed down, and I rewrote. My 12 Dancing Princesses are multiracial, and it's done in modern times as opposed to the olden days, even though it starts with Once Upon a Time. My princesses dance, modern dances. They carry cellular phones. They go running out in the park. So they're 12 dancing princesses who don't obey their father when he tells them not to go out and dance. And they wear out their shoes, and he's buying new shoes every day. So it's a fun story. It's done in rhyme, as most of my books are. Lots of colorful illustrations.
And one of the things I like about rhyme format is because as a lyricist, particularly for songs, and we know most songs have some type of hook in them, it makes it easier for a person if they have if they can get into a rhythmical type of reading. It's like Mary had a little lamb. It's something rhythmical that we can halfway sing or do in a poetry format tends to stick with us longer than if we read something that has more of an academic type of although I mean we need to be well versed in each and in all of that, but I just feel like it's better when you can say something. Even now I guess over the last 10 years or so, they've been trying to incorporate rap into mathematics so that a child might be able to learn, let's say, their multiplication tables and other things. But they make it from a niece of mine who's a college student now. She was doing something similar as well, because she knew that if you can make it entertaining and fun, which is one of the critical things in writing, if you can make it entertaining and fun, you could hold on to the reader that much better as well. Now, of course, there's some books I don't know that you have, and I've attended, different book signings that David's had. But maybe you could share with us, the rest of the books, and then we can get into again letting people know how to contact you through website and other information.
There's a book called Lancaster Lion and Friends. It's a lesson about cooperation. All the animals have to face their jungle problems, and the lion solves one problem, the rhino solves another problem, and it's a fun book with illustrations done by me and my friend Anthony Brown. And there's a book called Which Letter is Better? It's in my part of our ABC series of books. And Which Letter is Better shows children arguing about why the letter that starts their name is the most important. For example, Billy says, without the letter B, when we go to the park to see a bear, we'll just see an ear. And that's not fair. So there's a silly picture that emanates from the dropping of one letter. It shows how you drop one letter from a word, it changes the whole meaning of the sentence. So that's one of my books. Also, besides the ones we mentioned, I did a retelling of the old folk tale called Stone Soup. Now that's done in rhyme, and it's about 3 travelers coming to town, having nothing to eat, and the townspeople are poor, and they say they have nothing to share. So the soldiers get a pot, fill it with stones and water, and proceed to make stone soup. But they say the water needs something in it. Does anybody have a carrot? And of course, it goes on from there. How about an onion? And eventually the townspeople realize that they have everything it takes to feed the town if they all cooperate. So there's another lesson in cooperation, which is one of the lessons I like to get out a lot.
Is that 8?
8 books, you mean?
Yeah, did we cover them all?
Let's see. Benny the Basketball Bully, Lancaster Lion, Which Letter is Better? Animals, Beasts, and Creatures, 12 Dancing Princesses, Stone Soup, Awesome Book of Cars, and now Melville for Mayor.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, one of the things that I think is important as well, when one becomes a good reader, and I want to say James Baldwin, I'm going to try to quote James Baldwin, but I believe he said something to the effect, read, read, read. When you can't read anymore, start to write. I'm just paraphrasing it basically. But the reason I mention that is because once you become a reader and you develop that love for reading, it generates ideas and concepts within you that would, like you said, well, let me take this idea about a flower, like Tupac did one, the rose that grew from concrete, and you know how we've seen. Is that?
It was a rose in Spanish Harlem.
Okay. Well, now his has which we've seen many times, how in the crack of a sidewalk, just that little crack, we can see the grass or a plant that will grow. And it's the strangest environment for us to see a plant in. However, at the same time, the fact that it, through all of whatever the adversity was, because we usually think of gardens, flowers, etc., that type of thing. I mean, that's just something that is normal for us. So when we see something like that, it's like, wow, this plant defied what we would consider normal and grew out of that. And the reason I brought that up again was because in reading, my granddaughter hasn't moved to that point yet, but everyone doesn't want to be a writer, but we all have a writer within us, and some people say a book within us, because our individual story is a story within itself. Even if we can't articulate that story, it's still a story within ourselves. So one of the things that I like in particular is that the books will create, and you can elaborate on this, David, the idea to use your imagination, especially when you just mentioned the one about which letter is better. Yes. I need to read that one myself, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I like that.
A through Z, once again.
Yes.
Yes, my mother had a favorite saying, without the love of books, the richest man is poor. And I believe that not only the reading, but as you said, the writing comes from using one's imagination, which Albert Einstein said is more important than intelligence, because we have to have dreams. We have to have dreams. They say we build buildings high in the sky, then it's just a matter of building a platform or foundation under them.
Right. It's like the plane. If they didn't have the guys dreaming about being in the sky, we wouldn't have planes, right? Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Yeah, this is Brother Sam. I'm viewing you on Channel 91 WHCR.
Oh, thank you for calling.
And I'm wondering if the brother is worried about plagiarism, because that Stone Soup book, I read that back when I was in elementary school. That's not your original work, is it?
Stone Soup is an old folk tale that's been passed down. Any work before 1923 in publication is what they call public domain. This is why we see so many stories by Shakespeare being redone. For example, West Side Story from 1961 was a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. Kiss Me Kate, the musical, was a retelling of The Taming of the Shrew. There have been many stories based on Cain and Abel, done by other authors, because any story before 1923 is public domain, and one can take that story and change the details around.
Oh, I understand, but did you change any of the storyline of Stone Soup? Because that seems to be the exact same story that I learned in elementary school.
Once again,
it was written.
The story is written as a folk tale or a fable, and these stories are open to new interpretations. Mine is totally done in rhyme, and it has the same moral, but the characters are different, the story is different.
I see.
And that was written before
1923. And it's written before 1923, just like the fairy tales we read. In fact, the Brothers Grimm collected fairy tales from all over. They did not write the fairy tales themselves. Also, William Shakespeare put a new twist on his plays. Most of his plays were written by other people. And a lot of people don't know this, but Shakespeare took those plays, rewrote them, retold them, and did them in such a manner that they still live today.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, what do you think? Many of the Bible stories seem to be the mirror image of ancient African and Egyptian stories. Have you noticed that?
You see, most of the biblical stories were what now, sir?
They're the mirror image of ancient Egyptian and African folk tales.
Well, you know, I can say just for myself that many of the things that I've written, many cultures have co-opted other cultures, either whether they were wise sayings, stories, axioms, things that were passed down. Many cultures have co-opted those things and then incorporated them into their own culture, to the point that sometimes we don't know where the original source was. So, yeah, that has happened many times. Even when you look at some of the movies like Ben-Hur, the Ten Commandments, of course we know that this happened on the African continent, but certainly the actors or actresses were not of African descent. But again, this is how it's co-opted, and then I guess it elevates the culture that stole it, and it diminishes or erases the culture that didn't do it. So this is kind of popular, and that's why it's another good reason to read, because some people will take something at face value from the source they got it from. Even now, the internet, some of these people who are doing other things, there's a term they use, it escapes me now, but anyway, many people have, I guess number 45 called it fake news, right? So these people are doing things, but yeah, that's just typical of cultures, and I could go really deep into it, but that's just the overview of it. Did you have another question for our guest?
Well, one example would have been the First Lady's co-opting of Michelle Obama's speech, but other than that, I'm enjoying the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that.
His 45's wife plagiarized Michelle Obama.
Not one of the
speech. Is that what I heard him
yes.
say?
Now, one thing I want to bring up, David, that you said is a quote from your mother, that a man, would you repeat that again? And I want to just kind of expound on that.
Without the love of books, the richest man is poor.
And why that strikes a note with me is because the current president says he doesn't read books. So he is rich, of course, in some kind of way, you know. Yeah. But in terms of being rich in knowledge, well, we already know that. So I like that quote. That's why I had to hear it again.
Okay.
And I'll have to use it as well, if you don't mind. Yeah.
By all means.
Okay. Now, again, I want you to give like contact information, a website, and projects that you've worked on as well.
This is my book, Melvin for Mayor. It'll be out Saturday, August 5th, from noon till 4. We're having a book signing at 2001 Antietam and St. Albans. It's near Verner and Gratiot, near Louisiana Creole, near Eastern Market, that area, 12 to 4, Melvin for Mayor. I also have an organization called the Literacy Project. My wife and I formed a couple of years ago, and we have 7 board members. We had our last celebration day this past Saturday, July the 29th, where we celebrated the fact that the children in the project, the summer project, wrote their own book. We published their stories that they wrote, and we worked with them for 6 weeks, and we're very, very proud of that. It's called the Literacy Project, and we're hoping to do more events throughout the years.
Oh, wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, on August the 12th, we're going to have a second book signing at the Davo Center, 2 o'clock, right?
I'm definitely going to try to stop by there.
Okay.
But I shan't be there long because I have 3 other events that day.
Okay. Book signings?
Not all book signings.
Okay.
A meeting here, a party there.
Oh, listen, he's a man about town. Did you hear that?
Well, that's why I hang around.
I see. Oh, okay, okay. But we want to have the members and participants of Hood Research to have an opportunity to meet you in person.
Okay.
And to get some of the books, as I'm going to do.
Now, your website again?
My website is dlwpublishing.com.
Does that mean that you assist anybody else in publishing their book?
We have done other books. I don't recall all the books we've done, but we have done In the Shadow of an Artist by Karen Guyton, where Karen Guyton does her memoirs about her history with the artist Tyree Guyton and the Heidelberg Project. She and I worked on that book together. We've done a book of poetry by David Silverman, a book of poetry by Anita Paler. I feel badly by not remembering all the books we've done because I don't want to feel that the authors are getting slighted, and yet I can't recall all the books. We have a book by Kiara Hampton that just came out, a book of her memoirs and poems, and a few others. But yes, we do edit books, we do the ISBN, we register the books, trademark or copyright if they like, and we put out other books as well as ours.
Oh, okay. That's very good.
And you know, I think that's critical in that I was a member of the Detroit Writers Guild. It was called the Black Detroit Writers Guild initially, and then it just shortened to the Detroit Writers Guild. But why I say that is because there are a lot of people who are talented in writing on one level or other. Like I came into it as a poet, as a matter of fact, and somewhat of a writer. That's how I met Theo, just by the way. I attended one of the meetings she had at a library. Councilperson Mary Ann Mahaffey was there at the time, and somehow or another Theo and I linked up. She knew that I was a writer. Have part of Hood Research's a newsletter called The Thinker's Report. So I was writing articles for that, and that allowed me to expand. But I say that because what you're doing, David, as well, is that it's a lot of people who have a gift of writing, and they don't have an outlet for it. They don't have anybody who is well versed enough in the craft to do that. Go ahead.
Let me mention then that when we first became involved in writing, Sylvia Hubbard of the Motown Writers Network gave a lot of good advice to me and to my wife. So it helped us get our start. Sylvia Hubbard's group, Motown Writers Network, meets every second Saturday at 10 a.m. at the main library. I'm also involved in a group called SCBWI, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. I'm also a member of Mensa, And there are other groups with I've been associated, including the one that you just mentioned, Detroit Writers Guild.
What kind of advice did she give you?
Keep writing. Learn to examine and introduce myself to social media, because when I first met Sylvia, I could barely spell the word Facebook.
But it's important when it comes to marketing and sales. It really
yes,
is.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we are at the end of the program, and time speeds by when you're having fun. I want to say that for those of you who enjoy this program, enjoy being a part of Hood Research, and first of all, for those of you who are helping to sponsor us, thank you very much. For those of you who are thinking about helping to sponsor Hood Research in this program, please write your check or your money order out to Hood Research, or if you prefer, you can write your check out to WHPR Broadcasting Company. But what we ask is that you mail it to Hood Research. And our P.O. Box is 4416, Detroit, Michigan, 48204. Again, that's P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan, 48204. Our telephone number is 248-234-2371. And like I said at the end of our program, it's not necessary for you to know everything. What is necessary is for you to know how to find what you need, when you need it. And we at Hood Research seek out as much information as we can to help us all make better informed decisions, Thabiti.
And as I say, if you want to be nothing, do nothing. But the only problem with doing nothing is you never know when you're finished.
We encourage you to tune in again next week and join us at our meeting, which is the second Saturday of August, August the 12th at 2 p.m. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you, David Watkins, for joining us this morning with your
Thank you so much.
wonderful writings. All right. Peace.